I'd like to know who these guys consider the toughest recruiting competition for Ohio State to be in the Midwest. Seems like for the most part, they get who they want. Nice Charlie reference, meaning Charlie Weiss. Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame, top 10 to 15 seem to be pretty much in order there, but I'll let you guys comment.
For me, I think Ohio State's biggest competition in the Midwest in terms of recruiting is Clemson. No, they're not in the Midwest, but they've come into Ohio in that area, and they've gotten some guys. I think one of the reasons Michigan has fallen off is because the Ohio State and Michigan don't really recruit the same. They recruit some of the same guys, but they aren't necessarily battling for a lot of guys in the classes, and that tells you that Ohio State is maybe off doing a different caliber of recruiting than Michigan is. What I would like to see, and obviously Notre Dame is always there, but it's it only a few players because for whatever reason. But Ohio produces so many players, and I think the Big Ten does a disservice to themselves by not going and getting more of those players. I mean, you look at what Kentucky does by signing a bunch of Ohio players, and it's working for them. And I think it would work for Purdue and Michigan State and Wisconsin if they would get in there more, even in Michigan. I mean, they've not been doing much in Ohio of late. So there's plenty to go around in Ohio. Some of those guys are developmental players, but you give them a couple of years and you'll be surprised by what you get. But yeah, if Ohio State could keep Clemson out of Ohio and out of the Midwest, I think they'd be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I'm of a mind, that there are some shifting sands, in terms of recruiting and reach as these head coaching jobs at different places kind of change hands. And so he makes a good point about Kentucky. They've done a great job mining players from Ohio that Ohio State didn't offer, and have become kind of the number 2 team in Ohio, really. Well, Cincinnati has been pretty good too, I suppose, in that regard. And that's where Michigan State was making a living there for a while, but their whole program and everything has tailed off basically from the moment they took the field against Alabama, whatever year that was. From that point on, it has not been, smooth sledding sailing for Michigan State with football. So, what direction they end up going, if it's Luke Fickell or somebody else, sounds like it won't be Narduzzi or Matt Campbell. I'm interested to see what direction that goes. But, is that a better job than Cincinnati? Right. I don't know. It's certainly going to pay more money. D'Antonio was making $4 million, and I think Fickell's probably in the $2 million range right now at Cincinnati. You'd certainly get a pay increase to go there, but I don't know. Just do you go somewhere? I mean, can you promise that they're not going to be on probation? Can you promise that they're going to be able to recruit? Can you promise that Michigan isn't going to get their act together and reclaim their spot as the number 1 program in the Midwest? I mean, it seems unlikely, but I don't know. Just a lot of questions I would have there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't feel like this would be a good time for Luke Fickell to take that job unless he's getting, say 5 years and add a year for every year that they might end up on probation, because there's going to be some stuff that continues to shake out from this, and it'll be up to Michigan State's response and the NCAA's actions.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I argued with a guy, this would have been 17 years ago when D'Antonio left Ohio State, the comfort of working for Jim Tressel. They could have been there together forever. And guy said, he's making a mistake going to Cincinnati. I said, no, he's not. No, he isn't. I know Rick Minner didn't do anything with that job, but, man, it's a sleeping giant down there. You're in a hotbed of football, and you just get, the secondary players from Ohio. And he's getting a kid Prater coming in from, Cincinnati, Wyoming, I guess, who's one of the top quarterback prospects in the country, is going to stay home and play at Cincinnati. And they're a top 25 program now, and D'Antonio made it that way. And then obviously Butch Jones and Kelly came through there and so forth. But, it was a great jumping off place for D'Antonio, great jumping off place for Butch Jones, and a great jumping off place for Chip Kelly. And now we will wait and see when and if Fickle and he and his wife Amy have, a number of children. I don't know what the exact number is, if it's 3, 5, 6, whatever it is, it's several. I know one of them is actually being recruited. Luke took his oldest son on a recruiting trip down to Louisville to see their program, which I thought was kind of interesting, that maybe his son would get a chance to go play at an ACC school. So that was kind of interesting. I thought last year when they had a moment, Luke went with them on a recruiting trip to Louisville. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how that all shakes out. But I think they got to throw a lot of years and a lot of money at him to kind of step into. I don't say this lightly, because Mark D'Antonio, I got to tell you, my dealings with him in the 3 years he was at Ohio State, he had tremendous integrity. Was just seemed like a man's man. Just seemed like he always talked about toughness and everything it took to win football games. And boy, they put a winner on the field. I mean, they won the national championship in 2002 on the basis of his defense and little else, and Reese Claret. So I don't know. I look at it. I say, did something change with him over time? Because that Michigan State thing, a lot of things have been alleged, and what he knew and what he allowed, and what he may have shrugged under the rug, I don't know. But I hate to see his name being dragged through the mud the way it has been. I'll just say that. And I hope everything that people are saying bad about him is not going to come out to fruition. But certainly that is going to be a situation to watch.
Yeah, I think it was maybe the 2016 or the 2017 recruiting class where they went and got some guys who were high 4-star guys, but they weren't the character guys that
they had been taking.
Right. As I've said this before, but I think D'Antonio flew a little too close to the sun with their recruiting, and they went and grabbed some guys who were talented but weren't the best people. And it seems like that class, the 4, 5, 6, 7 guys has kind of brought down the entire D'Antonio program to this point where he's now had to resign because of everything that's happened. And he's talked about didn't like recruiting or was tired of it and ready to move on. And if you're not ready, if you're not into recruiting, then you have to move on. Because, especially at a place where Michigan State, Urban Meyer would talk about their ability to develop and their ability to spot talent. And when they would offer kids, Ohio State would take notice and be like, well, we need to look at these guys. And they really respected what Michigan State was able to do. And I think you just lose your energy. And I think that's what he did, and didn't want to fire guys, didn't want to be re-energized. And so now you're done.
Yeah, and his offense obviously hit record lows at the end of the 2018 season, and he didn't take the appropriate steps. And I'm not saying, again, to go out and get a guru who's going to throw the ball over the field and, change the way that you play offense, but they had to do something, and they didn't. And the result was the exact same 7-6 2 years in a row. And again, losing games because you can't score more than 13 points. I think, I think that's a very valid lesson, that can be taught at coaching clinics is, it's great that you had trust and love your assistant coaches, but when it's time to clean house, it's time to clean house. And he would not do that. And they kind of made their bed and laid in it this past year.
We were on live talking USC football when the news broke, and so I busted right into my Mark D'Antonio spiel, took a few phone calls. So if you want my perspective on D'Antonio, Michigan State, and where they might be headed next for a head coach, just check that out. Tony Gerdeman from theozone.net, Steve Hellwagon from Bucknuts 247 Sports. This is Ohio State Buckeyes Live. We hope that you'll join us again next week. We don't know what time or day that's going to be, so what you need to do is you subscribe to the channel, you check out the notifications, and I let you know as soon as we possibly can. All right, guys, we appreciate you stopping by. These guys make it possible, so thank them as well, because they do the real work. So thank you so much for making this happen once again, guys.
All right. See you sometime next week, Mark.
Yep, take care.